When this 14-week job interview is over, only one candidate will remain. Who will succeed? Who will fail? And who will be the apprentice?
All right, guys, here we go. It is Monday, January 27th in the year 2025. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. We are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Locals. If you have not subscribed, what are you doing? Come on already. RubinReport.locals.com for the post-game show. And if you're looking at me thinking that I look rather svelte today, it's because we've had a little norovirus going around in the house. And if you ever want to lose a couple pounds quick, whoo-hoo, that is the way to do it. But we have all survived. We are ready to go. And we got a big show for you on this Monday. We're going to talk a bit up top about some of the what we call the sane liberals who have not fully made the move to Trump, except something is happening in the last couple of days. You know who I'm talking about already, Bill Maher, Stephen A. Smith, that whole crew, suddenly basically now saying, yeah, we're kind of on the Trump train. We can't fight where the culture is going, and it is what it is. Then we have just a series of Trump wins. You know, we're a week into this presidency, and holy cow, is Trump 2.0. I mean, he gets it. All of the things that many people were concerned about. Can he surround himself with the right people? Is he going to get going right out of the gate? Are they going to do a lot of things? Realize that last time they got slow rolled by the deep state, all those things. Well, he is just getting win after win after win after win. He's giving speeches and rallies again, impromptu out of nowhere. And we'll have a bunch on the border and Colombia. I am not talking about the university that Hamas is at. I am talking about the country. They've got some problems with Donald Trump, and we'll do some World Economic Forum and a whole bunch more. But let's dive into Real Time with Bill Maher on Friday night. It was a Rubin Report reunion show over there. They had Stephen A. Smith on. Now remember, these two guys, Bill, Stephen A., did not vote for Trump. Bill has been one of the biggest, protagonists, let's say, in the media against Trump. Stephen A. little less so, but did not vote for him just months ago. But look, as the worm has turned, as they are talking about who is cool these days.
Here's how bad the Democrats up. Trump is cool now. He's not just the most powerful guy in the world and just made himself like the richest. Mm-hmm. He's actually kind of at 78.
Yes.
I mean, rappers like him.
Yeah.
The athletes are doing, I was making fun of him jerking off two guys at one time. And now he owns it, and they're doing it.
Here's the deal. The man was impeached twice. He was convicted on 34 felony counts. And the American people still said, he's closer to normal than what we see
exactly.
left. That's what they're saying. He's closer to normal. Why? Because something that pertains, when you talk about the transgender community, for example, and you're talking about the issues that pertain to less than 1% of the population, the Democratic Party came across as if that was a priority more so than the other issues. And so he comes into office. Now you're talking about childbirth, citizenship, and what have you. He knows that's not going to pass the mustard, but he knows that he made that promise. So when he shows up week one on Capitol Hill and he says, this is what we're going to do through an executive order, even though it's going to be shot down through the courts and what have you, he's saying, I kept my promise. A lot of other things that he's going to point to that he's going to try to do. I kept my promise. Then you turn around and you look at the left and you say, what promises did you keep? Now, you might know the answer to that. I'm certainly not questioning your knowledge about that at all. What I'm saying is what resonated with the voter. What voter out there can look at the Democratic Party at this moment in time and say, there's a voice for us, somebody that speaks for us, that goes up on Capitol Hill and fights the fights that we want them fighting on our behalf. They didn't do that. And that's why their behinds are home, and that man is back into the White House. And they want to sit up there and talk. You look at the networks right now, they're talking about, look at it, this is the latest, look at him, here he goes again. Well, you know what here he goes again means? He's doing what he said he was going to do. He promised you he was going to do these things, and he walked into office week one, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's saying, y'all do something about it. And when you try to do something about it, he's going to say, look at them now. Now they're concerned about these issues. Were they talking about that during the campaign? Hell no. That's really it.
Yeah.
We'll get to some of the things that Trump said he was going to do that he actually is doing already. But Stephen A., if you're watching the show today, yes. Right? Like, yes, you are absolutely right. Well, how is it that for 2 years, more than 2 years, I kept saying, How is Donald Trump, a man who is orange with the crazy hair, who is a billionaire, how is he more in touch and more authentic than literally every Democrat? Who is more authentic? Think about it. Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Pre-dementia Joe Biden. Who was more authentic? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? Who was more authentic? Donald Trump or AOC, Donald Trump or Elizabeth Warren, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you can go down the list. How is it that this party became so out of touch? Now, interestingly, the guy that Stephen A. turned to there, that's Ro Khanna. He is a Democrat from Palo Alto, who I would also say is on the, let's say, a little bit more moderate side of what's going on with the Dems. But clearly, these guys all see the writing on the wall. If you are a moderate liberal, congratulations, you're basically a moderate Republican at this point. And that actually is okay. Just ask RFK. They're not going to come get you. It's okay. It's also interesting that I have no doubt that the Maher people do in real time, the bookers and producers and everything, they are trying to figure out, what do we do now? Because if all of the decent liberals that would argue the lefty points, if they're now sort of pro-Trump, who are we left to put on the show? Who are we left with? No pun intended. Who are we left with? Like radical Hamas supporters, crazy, Antifa people or whatever. They're going to have to figure that out. I mean, it's why it's so hard to find people to debate on the left, because it's been completely, and I would say wholly decimated, the intellectual side of the left, at least. Anyway, Stephen A. continued, and I thought this was particularly interesting as per something that he said in this studio just weeks ago. Listen to this.
He had actual ideas.
Exactly. And the difference is, they used to say Obama was a celebrity. Obama became a celebrity because he was great at his job of being a politician.
You know the difference?
That's different. That's a huge difference.
This may get me a little...
I'm just saying.
I don't know about that. Okay, let's be honest here. First of all, one could argue that Obama resonated more because the people chose him to be the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States of America, as opposed to somebody backdooring their way into that position. Let's just be honest about it. You had Biden. I know that you supported Biden. Obviously, you spoke about his mental acuity and all of that other stuff, but we all saw what we saw. Before the debate on June 27th, when the debate happened, and by the time that was exposed, you then waited 3 weeks after that before he decided to walk away, but it was too late for anybody else to get in. So Kamala Harris, who didn't resonate during the primaries in 2020, couldn't even get to Iowa, suddenly is the Democratic nominee. And then you roll up at the convention in Chicago, and everybody's like, she's a rock star. So it was like, wait a minute, how that happened? How that happened? I don't know how that happened. So you're looking at all of those things and you're saying, yes, I voted for her. A lot of people voted for her. But in the end, we end up feeling like damn fools because we supported it. We fell for the okie doke, as they say. You know she did. If you had a primary, the likelihood is that she would not have been the Democratic nominee. And you can't say that about Trump and his side. You can't.
All right, I'm going to try to do all the analysis in Stephen A. Smith voice, so go with me for just a moment here, because it's quite a mea culpa that he's making right there when he's saying that, because you have to understand the man voted for Kamala Harris not too long ago. I'm turning into Al Sharpton. Now it's a little offensive. You understand what's going on here? That all the stuff that we all knew, that we were all talking about, a whole bunch of people didn't quite get, and now you have a guy who is making obvious points, right? He's just making obvious points. There was something wrong with Biden. There was the backdoor deal. Like, he's basically like, don't bullshit us anymore. And then on a liberal talk show host show, on Bill Maher show, you got the whole audience, which is largely liberals, lefties, applauding the fact that he's calling out the BS of the Democrat Party. But the fact that he says he felt like a fool, right? He feels like a fool for having voted for her and got duped by that stuff is quite an admission, because 2 weeks ago, listen to what he said in this studio.
Tip my hat to the Republicans, to the conservatives out here and what they did in this last election. Again, I did not vote for Donald Trump, but I got to tell you something. I'm not mad he won. I'm not mad he won, because when I see, especially in the aftermath of the election, some of the things that transpired with the Democratic Party, in an effort to manipulate the election and the vote, it really ticked me off. When you hear people talking about practical things, and then I saw folks on the left basically trying to guilt me into voting for you. It bothered me. I might have ended up voting for Kamala Harris because I didn't like how Trump acts. But what I didn't do was call him a racist. I didn't call him a Nazi. I knew Trump before he ran for president.
Yeah.
We talked on the phone. We talk at basketball games or boxing events. I knew this man. And so some of the things that were being said about him, I knew were not true. And I was saying, come on, y'all, that you got to do better than that.
All right, so I know you guys have seen that clip, and I hope you've watched the full interview, but there's a real reason I'm showing you that. That's about 2.5 weeks ago, right? So 2.5 weeks ago, I'm not mad that Donald Trump is president. Flash forward to Friday night, so just 2 weeks later, Friday night on Real Time, he feels like a damn fool for voting for Kamala. So do you see how quickly the culture is changing and that people are realizing, man, I was duped, and now I'm going on a liberal show and I'm getting applauded for calling out the BS that they pushed on us in the first place. I'm telling you guys, the seeds of change have been planted, and I don't even think we realize how different the culture is going to be 1 year from now. Like, it's going to be so radically different, and I think there's a million reasons for that, which we'll get to later in the show. Let's talk about PDS debt for a moment, and then we'll talk about Trump's whirlwind tour, because the guy, he gets sworn in, and then, man, he hit the ground running. Getting into credit card debt is easy. Getting out, that's a whole different story. The system is set up to keep you stuck, but you don't have to stay that way. If you're struggling with credit card debt, personal loans, collections, or medical bills, you need to check out PDS Debt. PDS Debt offers a service that matches you with debt solutions tailored to your financial situation. If you're making payments every month but your balances aren't going down, PDS Debt can help. Here's the best part. Anyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there's no minimum credit score required. Even if you have bad or fair credit, PDS Debt has options for you. They'll help you save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. Stop waiting and start saving today. Get your free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/Rubin. It only takes 30 seconds to get started. That's pdsdebt.com/Rubin. Take control of your financial future today. All right, so Trump, it's been a week, basically, and an awful lot has changed. Now, of course, what happened right before he got sworn in was that Southern California was on fire, Pacific Palisades, so much of Los Angeles just is a disaster. Even as we speak right now, people can't get back into their homes. If you saw our show on Friday with Adam Carolla, Adam lives in Malibu. His house was not burned down, but because of the laws and regulations and everything else, he can't even get into his house. He's literally living with Dr. Drew right now, which sounds like a sitcom. Anyway, Donald Trump gets on the plane and he's just giving speech after speech, rally. It's just insane what the guy is doing. But he made it over to Los Angeles to meet with the lizard man himself, Gavin Newsom.
Force One there, and we believe that's Governor Gavin Newsom at the bottom of the stairs, awaiting the president's arrival. As we zoom in there, I think that is the governor as he is waiting the president's arrival. Again, he was not a part of the trip as far as being on the itinerary for President Trump to be taking a tour with Governor Newsom, but the governor saying he would show up.
Most importantly, thank you for being here. It means a great deal to all of us, and not just the folks in Palisades, the folks in Altadena that were devastated. We're going to need your support. We're going to need your help. You were there for us during COVID. I don't forget that. And I have all the expectations that we'll be able to work together to get this speedy recovery.
We will. We're going to get it done. We're looking to get something completed. And the way you get it completed is to work together. He's the governor of the state, and we're going to get it completed. They're going to need a lot of federal help, unless you don't need any, which you'll be okay.
We're going to need a lot of federal help.
So we're going to take care of things, okay?
All right, so what you just saw there was kind of politics 101, right? These guys say awful things about each other, right? I mean, Newsom has basically called Trump a Nazi, basically spent 6 months before the election, what was it? He was Trump-proofing the state with all of these legal measures to make sure that the Trump federal government couldn't come for California. California obviously is ground zero for all of the woke nonsense and gender stuff and all of that. Interestingly, they have a little bit of a family-ish connection there because Trump Jr., for many years was dating Kimberly Guilfoyle, you know her from Fox News, I think she's been on the show a couple of times, who was Gavin Newsom's ex-wife. Now, Junior's no longer with her, but like just even that is a little weird there. But the point is politics brings people together. Tragedy brings people together. And right now, Gavin, snake, evil, lizard, cold-blooded Gavin Newsom, he needs Trump, and Trump knows that. And Trump actually, if anyone's going to fix anything in California, it ain't going to come from the California people who destroyed the state themselves. It's going to be because a newer, slimmer, trimmer, more effective federal government is going to come in and cut some red tape and get some of these people some help and maybe some money. So we'll see what happens there. But then Trump just continues. Here he is. He goes to a press conference with the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, and California Representative Brad Sherman. And, they're trying to lay blame everywhere except themselves and all that stuff. And Trump just is not having it.
You did something, Brad, where every insurance company in the country left California. That's why you have no insurance, because you made it so impossible. People that think like you made it so impossible. And
Brad,
every
Mr.
insurance company.
Mr. President, if I can just defend FEMA a little bit.
Yeah.
They brought thousands of people in. I don't know how they're doing in other states. They're doing a good job for us here. They've got a huge center that's open from 9 in the morning till 8 at night.
You have 40 million people. You're not going to get a few thousand people. The problem with FEMA is they come from all over the country. They end up in arguments with your people from California because they want to do it a totally different way. And I can live either way, but you haven't gotten very much done with FEMA and all you have to do is look at North Carolina. It's one of the great disasters of all time.
And Mr. President, you can't have Rhode Island maintain a staff of thousands and thousands of people waiting to see if they have a disaster.
You know who came in and fixed North Carolina or the process? Other states, people from all over the country came. And you have the same thing. You have a lot of people from all over the country. Getting the people is not a problem. Getting the organization's a big problem. FEMA's incompetently run, and it costs about 3 times more than it should cost.
I'm hoping
we can spend money on
run.
schools instead of giving money to bureaucracy. It takes you so much longer. But I've only been here 3 days, and I'll do a great job. But we had another president, and this took place during the life of another president, not me. But I'm going to be the president that's going to help you fix it, because he would not have been able to help you fix it, okay? So we'll take care.
You know what's crazy? It's like, I believe him. Wow, a president I believe. When he says I can fix it, I'm going to fix it, we're going to get rid of the bureaucracy, I believe he's going to do those things. The reason that clip is interesting is there you have Brad Sherman, he's just a marginal California representative, doesn't even matter about him. But what Trump is really talking about there is the difference between people, right? What does he says? It's the people are not the problem, the organization is the problem. So no one thinks that the people that work for FEMA are bad people, right? Of course, these in many cases are great people who don't get paid a ton to do jobs and have to do cleanup and rescue people in all sorts of awful situations, right? So it's not about the people. The point is the organization itself is not slim and trim and functional, right? What did Trump say? He thinks the budget is probably 3 times what they need. But that's what the government has been here. It's just this big thing that we keep throwing more money to that keeps getting bigger. What did he say? North Carolina, who's helping them the most? It's the other states. It's not FEMA, right? So we should be looking at FEMA. We should be looking where we could cut. We should figure out, are there ways to cut some red tape so people can get back into their houses so that they could rebuild quicker, so that insurance companies wouldn't feel like they have to leave. I always bring this back to just a very simple example, but when we had that Category 5 hurricane here in South Florida and the Sanibel Causeway, a 3-mile bridge got completely demolished, it would have taken the federal government years to rebuild. DeSantis went down there. He said to the engineers, what do you need? And they all just said, cut the red tape, just get out of our way so we could do it. It was rebuilt basically in 3 weeks. It was functional. It's still being rebuilt now, but you could get over a bridge in 3 weeks. It's incredible. And the fact that he's like picking these fights with these people, that he's willing to go there and say, no, think how the stark contrast between the 4 years that we've just been through with that bumbling old fool who had no idea what he was doing. Imagine if that had been Joe Biden at that press conference. FEMA's coming, you'll all get $700. The mumbling, the stammering, the confusion, the wandering off into the forest versus, I'm going to fix it. Like, we actually got somebody that maybe we deserved. It's pretty sweet. Here's Trump going after Karen Bass because she's the mayor of Los Angeles. She was on a trip to Ghana during this. The woman can't speak without reading off a teleprompter or off some notes. And she seems to think that California won't be rebuilding for about 18 months. Trump knows a little something about building. I think there's a building somewhere with his name on it. So, well, let's see.
Much appreciated. Let me also say that I know you had an opportunity to see the devastation. You've seen the extreme loss, the grief that people are going through here. And we are 100% committed to getting this neighborhood rebuilt again. You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape, we could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Mayor, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope
that
you're right.
You can hold me to it.
Because 4 groups said that.
No.
That would be they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
That will not be the case. You know, first we have to take care to make sure that there's not getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help.
You've got it. I told you. You will have no permit problem. There will be 0 delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
And the resources.
Okay, so it's interesting there because on its face, it's not that she said anything crazy there, right? Like she's like, well, we have to make sure there isn't hazardous waste. It's, you know, you can't just send people back into a place where there could be gas leaks and other threats and, you know, crumbling infrastructure and all of those things. But Trump, basically, it's what Trump does with everything. Make it happen. Make it happen now. No more permit BS. You're going to have all the help that you need. And it's like, here you just have a middle management lady who has no real qualifications to do anything when it comes to rebuilding this place, right? LA could have chosen Rick Caruso, a guy who was a commercial real estate developer who's, oddly enough, his mall in the Palisades, as everything burned around it, didn't burn because he had his own firefighting force over there. They could have went with him, but they went with her instead. But the point is, she basically represents the bureaucracy. Oh, it's just people who aren't really experts in anything saying why things can't really happen tomorrow. And then you have Trump. And I guess the best way to describe Trump is the mover. He will move things and make things happen quickly. And I can tell you, if you live in the Pacific Palisades right now, or you live in Pasadena or one of those other areas, you're pretty damn happy. Not only that you're going to get the help, but that some of this could happen a little bit quicker than normal. If that is not enough for you, I mean, again, the guy just got sworn in. Like, he's doing all the dances, the parties, the balls, all of the stuff. And now he's just back out on the road. Then on the way back from California, as I understand it, this was not planned. They ended up landing in Vegas, and he just did another rally, because why not?
Our country was on the verge of some of the very bad things, and bad things were happening. And now there's light not only over America. I've heard it from even our enemies. They call up and they say, sir, we hate you. We do hate you, but there's light over the world right now. They hate me. Some of them hate me. If they liked me, you got a problem, right? They like Sleepy Joe. What's not to like? You know, they'd call up. It's funny. I was told today by one of the big leaders of the world, would call for a telephone call with the President of the United States a year ago. And they'd say, we'd like to speak with, who is this? It's the head of Germany, the head of, name it, the head of France, the name of any country, it didn't matter. He would never pick up the call. They'd say, he'll call you back in 2 months. 2 months? Yeah, it's his schedule. He's extremely busy sleeping. No. Macron of France, he'll call you back in 2 months. So 2 months comes along and there's no call. They say, He didn't call. The stories are, I mean, these stories are not very exaggerated. I want to tell you, they're a little bit for laughter, but, you know, it's only for laughter. I speak to them immediately. They'll say, could we speak to the president? Would that be possible? We could do it anytime over the next month. They're so used to this, right? I say, no, I'll pick it up right now. Is he on the phone? Yeah, hello, how you doing? That's what, you know, get it.
I mean, he's having fun on top of everything else. I think he actually realizes the moment and he's like, why won't I have fun in the midst of this? So yeah, he's roasting Biden a little bit with the BS way that the last 4 years have gone. Like, oh, 2 months from now you can get on the phone, Macron. You want to talk to Biden 2 months from now? Of course that doesn't happen. And by the way, that's completely the same. That is the same notion as that video we showed you last week where Mike Johnson was saying that for months they delayed meetings with him and Biden. And when he finally got to the Oval Office, that Kamala and Chuck Schumer basically pulled him away from the president. So again, we're going to find out more around that scandal and how they pushed him out and what meds he was on and all of that stuff. But that's separate. The point is Trump is like, hey, the world is back. People know it. And by the way, it's an interesting thing. We don't have to be liked. Trump doesn't have to be liked. He has to be respected. That's the point. So the bad guys are calling him up and he's like, well, they don't like me very much. Yeah, but they respect him or they fear him. And that is how you lead the world. And it's a hell of a lot better than a drooling vegetable. Guys, let's talk about BHMD1 for a moment, and then we'll have more on what's going on with this immigration situation, which, man, when I tell you that they are out of the gate running, they are out of the gate running. We've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin, he said. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. It's almost like Photoshop for your face. You may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view, Lake told reporters. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. You can find out more about this yourself right now. Go to bhmd1.com/Rubin or click the link in the description box below. That's bhmd1.com/Rubin. Again, go watch the video at bhmd1.com/Rubin right now, or just click the link in the description box below. All right, so what was the thing? Let's get in the time machine for a moment. Do you have 1.21 gigawatts of power? Do you have a DeLorean? Let's do it for a second. Let's go all the way back to 2015 when Donald Trump rode down that escalator. And what was his big thing? He was going to build a wall. He felt that America should have borders, and you can't just come into America just because you want to be here. We have to have some orderly system. By saying that, he was called a racist and a white supremacist and Hitler and all of those things. Now, virtually everyone knows that's how it is, right? You either have a country or you don't. Most countries in Europe are realizing this way too late and have let in too many millions of people that don't share their cultural identity and all of those things. And that's a separate problem altogether. But we are dealing with this very, very quickly. Let's also not forget that the day that Joe Biden became president 4 years ago, he reversed about 70 executive actions that Trump took on the border. So this is not blameless. This is actually completely pinpoint. You can blame it on Biden and the Democrats and whoever was running that entire thing. So we're going to show you a video here. First, it's Trump talking about some of the people that we are deporting right now. And hint, hint, they're not the best and the brightest. And then it'll go right into Tom Homan, who, as I say, and you'll see it when you watch this clip, if somebody was supposed to play Tom Homan, the man who was going to deport all of the bad guys in the movie about deporting bad guys, it is Tom Homan.
People with gang tattoos on.
There are people coming in with tattoos all over their face. Their entire face is covered with tattoos.
That identifies
Typically, you know he's not going to be the head of the local bank.
I want to go back to those military flights going south. As you said, we have never seen that before. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military every single day?
Yes.
To take deportees out?
Yes.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported.
Yes, but you're going to see the number steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture. Right now it's concentrating public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going to do this on priority base, as President Trump's promised, but as that aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide.
I like this guy, this Tom Homan. That is a bad motherfucker. Like, he just is there to do a job. He answers the questions directly, honestly. Oh yeah, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna open the aperture, and then we're gonna pour a whole bunch of migrants in it. And we're like, the guy he is so ready for this job. It's just spectacular. And that line that Trump had there, I mean, the guy's like, he's working, he's doing stand-up. Somebody with face tattoos all over his face, typically not the head of the local bank. Like, that's funny. If you went into the bank and the bank manager came out, he had a freaking tattoos all over his face, would you be like, this is a good place to keep my money? This guy seems like he's on the up and up. Anyway, it's happening right now. So, ICE, which is supposed to be in charge of getting illegals out of the country. You broke the law to get here. And again, as I've said a million times, and I will continue to say, this is not about the marginal person who has been here one way. They got here one way or another years ago, and they've been legally paying taxes, and they've built a family and a life here and all of those things. What we're focused on right now are the criminals, right? The criminals and people who just got here when Biden, who basically was a criminal, just let everybody in. And there's a distinction to make there, and we'll have to keep making that distinction, right? And you don't want too many people caught up in all of this and that aren't worthy of being caught up, et cetera. But anyway, ICE is supposed to, their singular job is to get rid of bad guys and get them out of the country. Well, they're back in business, baby.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
So, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Señor, ¿cómo se llama?
And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
Do you realize how insane this situation is? So ICE is going in. We got a Guatemalan gang member. We got this sex offender, the guy that Interpol wants. They knew that all these people were here. These people didn't just show up on their radar 5 days ago and magically they go to Boston and find them. And Boston, which is a sanctuary city, and I would argue that the mayor there is a criminal. You are not abiding by the law. You swore on the Constitution to abide by your oath of office. Your oath of office is to protect the laws of the United States. But okay, putting that aside for a second, it's like they knew these people here, but ICE wasn't allowed to do their job. Sorry, you gotta go. You gotta go. The sex offender and the drug trafficker and the other guy and his friend who was just happened to be there. He was probably a great guy, but you know what I mean? You got to go. Now check this out. So Dr. Phil, you guys know my buddy Dr. Phil. He went out on the road. Not in a big bus this time, talking about how America could, get its stand up straight with its shoulders back. That's sort of a Jordan Peterson-esque version of Dr. Phil. He went out on the road with Tom Homan, and they went hunting for some sex offenders.
What's your name?
Seda. Seda what? Do you have a first and last name? Sam. Seda Sam? Yes.
Where are you from?
Where I was born or where I'm from?
Where are you born?
Thailand.
You've been deported before from the United States?
No.
Never been deported?
I've been in the system before.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What have you been charged with?
Charged for?
Before?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna talk about lawyer.
Yeah. Are you a citizen?
My mom's a citizen.
Your mother's a citizen?
Yes.
But you're not?
Nope.
But you've never been deported before?
You got the Phil. You look like Dr. Phil.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, you know, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children. And he's walking the streets of Chicago. Again, the downfall, the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents. This is what we're dealing with. Take them in, process them, lock them up.
Got it, sir. All right, is it a transport vehicle? Working on it. Okay.
All right, we'll get to the sex offender part in just a second, but the best part of that by far is in the middle of it, he realizes it's Dr. Phil. He's like, Dr. Phil, I used to watch you all the time, man. I had a small business and I wasn't going very well, and I watched Dr. Phil, and then I had a better hiring and firing process, and yes, he's a child sex offender who shouldn't be wandering around Chicago, and thankfully Tom Homan is in charge and ain't gonna take any of that BS. But I want to back up for a second, because as I said a moment ago, all we're doing right now is just going back to something that we should have done a long time ago. There's nothing mean about any of this. Every single country exists on the planet to have borders and protect its way of life. That's it. The Democrats tried to destroy America. They really did. I don't know how you can see it any other way. And now we have a border again. But of course, this is going to make the mainstream media go apoplectic, because that means we're mean and we're racist and all of that stuff. JD Vance, the new VP, and man, they are going to regret the day they radicalized this guy. He went on Face the Nation, and Margaret Brennan, the journalist over there, she had some questions about this new immigration policy.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by...
This is a unique country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
When you talked to us in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country.
You see the trick she did there, and this is why they're going to really regret that Donald Trump chose JD. The trick she did there, we're a nation of immigrants. The implication is that you're somehow mean if you think that we're supposed to have borders. I don't know anyone, I literally don't know anyone, including Donald Trump and probably Tom Homan himself, who thinks that there should be no immigration, who are against immigrants, right? We are a nation of immigrants in that virtually all of us, our parents or grandparents or great-grandparents or however your ancestors got here, were immigrants into the nation. But it can only work if they're legal immigrants. She seems unable to make that distinction. His answer is perfect. And the point is, okay, we're a nation of immigrants. Does that mean everyone should be here? Does everyone have the right to live in Saudi Arabia? Does everyone have the right to live in France? I guess in France, yeah. But you get it? You get it? I know you get it. Race huckster Al Sharpton over on the televised mental institution known as MSNBC is going off, calling it all racist. And then we'll throw in, well, we got a communist, Bill de Blasio, a couple other crazy, he's just a crazy clown car of stupidity.
So sending a very extreme message to a lot of people who are really scared.
Very, very, very scared. And I might add that when you look at the fact that there's a serious element of profiling here, that we're looking for people of a certain black or brown color.
For example, if you have a city like New York that says, we're not going to ask documentation status in our schools, hospitals, or with our police force talking to people out in the streets, they're not going to ask documentation status, because that's how we actually keep people safe. Talk to NYPD leaders and they'll tell you, once you start asking people documentation status, no one's going to talk to you if they happen to have an undocumented status. And that means you can't protect the community.
And so many of the folks that went to January 6th were driven by one specific thing, and that is also the great replacement theory, right? One of the through lines of the majority of those people, and the University of Chicago did an incredible story, and they found that overwhelmingly, the majority of people that went there were driven by that belief. So I think part of the moment we're in is recognizing that this conspiracy theory of an invasion is the heart of what is driving immigration policy in this country.
If you know someone watching MSNBC, hit them. I'm not generally for just a smack, just a. Are you all right? Are you all right? No, don't violently hurt them. You know, I'm just talking about just like a smack, like wake up, let's get out of it. Bill de Blasio, who is a complete communist lunatic, who basically has led to the destruction, pre-Eric Adams, who he's coming around, but it's done a lot of bad stuff. Bill de Blasio basically said, well, we can't ask for papers because if you ask for papers, the undocumented people might not have papers, and that could be bad for the community. What the hell does that mean? You gotta go. You gotta go. You guys have destroyed. That he can even show his face in New York City is a travesty. That Rudy Giuliani has moved from New York City is a travesty. But you get what you vote for, guys. So good luck, New York. The rest of it, and Al Sharpton, the endless. No one is profiling black and brown people. Nobody's. You think ICE is just wandering down the street like, oh, there's a couple black guys at a shoe store. Let's go in and see what's what. No, they are looking for drug dealers. They are looking for child molesters and other Democrat types. See what I did there? Here's Ilhan Omar, which, occasionally someone, as I said before, it might be that somebody's going to get caught up in one of these things. We can only hope it would be her. But here she is freaking out over what's going on right now.
It is hard to imagine anything more un-American than that. The Trump administration's immigration policy is a threat to immigrants like criminals. America is too great to fall prey to Donald Trump's anti-immigrant agenda. We need to restore basic humanity to our immigration system, and that starts with repealing the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, with Our Neighbors Not Enemies Act. Together, we will end this xenophobic law once and for all.
Oh, yes. Ilhan Omar, who came here from Somalia and for some bananas reason has risen to a certain degree of power and influence in this country. Yes, lady, you who just got here, basically. You should lead the repeal of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Do you realize how absolutely insane that is? Now, I get it. You are an enemy of the country, so you'd be a little concerned about what could happen there. Also, Ilhan Omar married her brother for immigration purposes. So, Tom Homan, if you're watching today, you might want to get in on that. Check that out. But here, let me give you from PBS, this is what the Alien Enemies Act is. The Alien Enemies Act of 1798 was a law that allowed President John Adams to deport or relocate foreign citizens during wartime. The act was part of the Alien and Seditions Act, a set of laws passed by Congress in 1798. So do you want to be on the side of Ilhan Omar or John Adams? Should we have non-citizen enemies of the state in this country? And again, she doesn't make the distinction between illegal immigrants and legal immigrants. I will celebrate like you have no idea if they kick her out of the country. You have no idea. I will dance. I haven't danced since 1987. But there's more good stuff happening, and it involves Colombia. No, not the university, which is a Hamas stronghold. I'm talking about the country. We'll get to that in a second. But first, Golden Revive. If you've hit that age where your body hurts all the time, listen up. Before you reach for another painkiller, let me tell you about a little-known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation that could change everything. You've probably heard that turmeric is great for fighting inflammation and joint pain. But here's the catch. Not all turmeric is created equal. A leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that's 200 times more powerful than regular turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were nothing short of amazing. This extract doesn't just mask the pain, it attacks the pain at its source, switching it off like a light bulb. Dr. Josh, the mind behind this breakthrough, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans break free from constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the secret to their success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, painful injections, and over-the-counter meds that don't really work, and say hello to living pain-free. I've tried it myself, and the difference has been incredible. But here's the thing, you can't just use any old turmeric. If you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and how you can incorporate it into your daily routine, go to goldenrevive.com/Rubin. The link is also below this video in the description. Just click it to start your journey to a pain-free, healthier life. All right, so I love this story. This is the perfect example of Trump 2.0, or what we've been calling the Trump effect, that the old nonsensical way that we've dealt with everything in this country. It's old, it's done, it's tired, it's over. And here is, well, this is just spectacular. Check this out, tweet from Ollie London. Colombian president rejects 2 U.S. military aircraft from landing in the country filled with Colombian migrants being deported from the U.S. Colombian President Gustavo Petro, who is a former guerrilla group member, said the U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. I forbid entry to our territory to U.S. planes carrying Colombian migrants. Petro announced his country had turned back U.S. military planes that were coming with Colombian migrants. He added that he will only accept Colombian migrants once Washington had created a protocol for ensuring the dignified treatment of the migrants. That's from Reuters. Now, before I get to what happened here, do you understand what's happening there? The Colombian president doesn't want the Colombians coming back to Colombia, but we're supposed to keep them here. You realize how insane that is. So, guess what? Donald Trump, Truth Social. This all happened over the weekend. His response? I was just informed that 2 repatriation flights from the U.S. with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States, so I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. Emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States. In 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. A travel ban and immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. Visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. IEEPA, Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions to be fully imposed. These measures are just the beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to the acceptance and return of the criminals they forced into the United States. So, okay, the Colombian president says, we don't want Colombians coming back to Colombia. Trump says, no, you're going to take them, and if you don't, we're going to wreck your economy, right? We're going to put tariffs on all your coffee and everything else. Nobody's going to buy it anymore, and you guys will be screwed. Do you know what happened just about 2 hours after that? Well, then Trump's press secretary put this out. The government of Colombia has agreed to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of all illegal aliens from Colombia returned to the U.S., including on U.S. military aircraft, without limitation or delay. Based on this agreement, the fully drafted IEEPA tariffs and sanctions will be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor this agreement. The visa sanctions issued by the State Department and enhanced inspections from Customs and Border Protection will remain in effect until the first plane board of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. Today's events make clear to the world that America is respected again. President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty, and he expects that all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States. Guys, this is it. It's happening right now. Competence is cool again, right? We are exercising our sovereignty and we're showing people that America is a serious nation again. And by the way, the tariff thing is interesting because, there's been this big argument. Trump keeps saying, we're going to put tariffs on imports and people are freaking out. Well, what was I saying the entire time? What was Mr. Wonderful saying the entire time? Kevin O'Leary. It's a negotiating tactic. You say, we're going to levy tariffs on you, Colombia, right? So now if the coffee's coming in, we're going to put a 25% or 50% tariff on it. And now you go to your store and you're like, oh, I could buy a pound of Colombian coffee, but suddenly that costs $24, or I can get XYZ coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, which is not particularly good coffee, but you get some other coffee from Bolivia or somewhere else. And by the way, it only costs $12 a pound. So it's a negotiating point, and it worked like that. Donald Trump posted this, I believe this is AI. We have to warn people this might be a deep fake. Like, the gangsters are back. That's gangster Trump, and he put it up himself. He's back in business. But not only is he fighting with the president of Colombia and winning, he's also fighting with our friends over at the World Economic Forum. Phoenix, scroll up for me, would you? Trump went virtually to the World Economic Forum meeting. This is where Klaus Schwab and his friends, they eat babies and then talk about how we can't get on planes, that thing. They had their big conference, and Trump video conferenced his way in, and he was just going after everybody. Here he is with a direct message to Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan.
And by the way, speaking of you, and you've done a fantastic job, but I hope you start opening your bank to conservatives, because many conservatives complain that the banks are not allowing them to do business within the bank, and that included a place called Bank of America. They don't take conservative business, and I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives, because what you're doing is wrong.
Mr. President, I'll say that your friend Gianni said hello, told me to tell you hello, and we look forward to sponsoring the World Cup when it comes, both this summer for the club and next year. So thank you for getting that for the United States.
Guys, I'm never going to get tired of this. Saying something that is true and clear directly to these people. In this case, he's videoed in, but it's the same thing that Trump did on Inauguration Day, over his left shoulder, basically pointing out those people who have screwed up so much. There he is, going directly at the CEO of Bank of America. And then you can see the guy just scurries. Well, Gianni said hi, and Bank of America put out this tweet. After that, they wrote, Bank of America serves more than 70 million clients, and we welcome conservatives. We would never close accounts for political reasons and don't have a political litmus test. Well, that's actually not how Bank of America has been operating. Trump was right to note that maybe this was coming from the Biden regulators that were forcing Bank of America not to bank or debank certain people. So it does appear now, and he also called out Jamie Dimon there, so the Chase shouldn't do it either. It does appear that you will be able to bank regardless of your political opinions. You can't say fund terrorism through the bank. That would be a problem. But if you have just a political opinion that maybe is a little outside the Overton window, yes, you should have access to a bank the same way the telephone company shouldn't be allowed to stop you from getting a telephone. Now, the realignment, which is so great right now, it's not just happening here. Who's one of the other guys with even crazier hair than Donald Trump that I've been loving lately? It's Javier Milei, president of Argentina, who has completely, in basically 2 years, completely reversed the economic collapse of Argentina, and the country's absolutely thriving right now. He did show up in person, and he gave a great speech at the WEF. Check this out.
Yet at some point in the 20th century, we lost our way, and the liberal principles that had made us free and prosperous were betrayed. A new political class, driven by collectivist ideologies and taking advantage of times of crisis, saw the perfect opportunity to accumulate power. All the wealth created by capitalism until then and into the future would be redistributed through some scheme of centralized planning, setting in motion a process whose disastrous consequences we are suffering today. By promoting a socialist agenda, while insidiously operating within the liberal paradigm, this new political class distorted the values of liberalism. And so they replaced freedom with liberation, using the coercive power of the state to redistribute the wealth created by capitalism. Their justification was the sinister, unjust, and abhorrent idea of social justice, complemented by theoretical Marxist frameworks aimed at liberating individuals from their needs. And at the core of this new value system lies the fundamental premise that equality before the law is not enough, as hidden systemic injustices exist which must be rectified. An idea that serves as a goldmine for bureaucrats who aspire to omnipotence. And this is fundamentally what wokeism is about, the result of the reversal of Western values. Each of our civilization's pillars has been replaced by a distorted version of itself, an ideology of monolithic thinking upheld by various institutions, whose purpose is to penalize dissent. Feminism, diversity, inclusion, equity, immigration, abortion, environmentalism, gender ideology, among others. These are all various heads of the same beast, aimed at justifying the state's expansion through the appropriation and distortion of noble causes.
Man, he is so good. I mean, was every word of that perfect or what? The line that I love there, the socialist agenda within the liberal paradigm. So it was the liberals that failed us. It's not because liberalism in its truest sense is bad, right? I wrote a book defending classical liberalism. Classical liberalism, born in the late 1700s, is the idea that for 300 years, basically, freed more people, right? Individual rights, laissez-faire economics. But you would have nation states. You would, I don't know, have a little relation to logic and reason. So they brought socialism in within the liberal paradigm because liberals have a soft underbelly. What do we love more than anything else? Liberals, we love tolerance. And of course, they became tolerant of intolerance. So it's just absolutely brilliant what he said there. And it's also great because he actually went there and said it. Like, that's not the easiest thing to do. You're going to the belly of the beast. It's like walking into the temple of doom and being like, hey, you guys suck. Here he is talking about some of his other friends in the world, because there are a couple countries that are turning around and doing it right. And it helps when you have brave leaders that are willing to take that fight.
Nor do I feel alone, because over the course of this year, I have found allies in this fight for the ideas of freedom in every corner of the world. From the amazing Elon Musk to that fierce Italian lady, my dear Giorgia Meloni. From Bukele in El Salvador to Viktor Orban in Hungary. From Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel to Donald Trump in the United States.
So there are leaders of their countries who want to protect their borders and protect their people and actually defend liberalism, usually from a more conservative perspective. But that's what's happening right now. And these leaders are finding each other. And the countries that follow that path will succeed, and the other countries will not. It ain't much more complex than that. Speaking of a not country, there's this guy, Justin Trudeau, and here is a little video of him. We're going to show you this video twice, because I'm not going to tee this up at all. Just watch this video, and then we're going to come back to the video in just a second. After you watch it once, we're going to bring it back in a second, because that's what we're going to do. Okay.
We should spend 5% on defense. Can you address his comments, please?
Over the past number of years, we brought Canada's defense spending up from below 1%, where it was under the previous Conservative government.
Now, you might be saying, Dave, what was so interesting about that clip? Why did you show that clip? Well, actually, if you look a little closer with a little closer inspection, Justin's sweatshirt is backwards.
We should spend 5% on defense. Can you address his comments, please?
Over the past number of years, we brought Canada's defense spending up from below 1%, where it was under the previous Conservative government. Now
let's jump over to The View, where what was I supposed to do with that clip? The man's wearing a backwards sweater. Like, what was up there? Was it Gavin Newsom up there and they were playing a little, you know what? Over on The View, they're realizing that their grift is in trouble because they have ushered in all of the crap that Milei was talking about right there. All of this woke stuff and the gender stuff and all of the stuff that has destroyed liberalism for these ladies that do that show on the Upper West Side of New York, which was the home of liberalism in America for so many years. They're realizing that they're in a little bit of trouble because the Dems are fighting because there's nothing left over there. Here's a little bit involves Sunny and the rest of them. They're just terrible people.
And welcome to The View. So here we go. Trump's back in the White House. Republicans control both the House and the Senate. So Democrats aren't just unhappy about this, they're turning on each other. That's right. The Hill reports that Jill Biden is mad at Nancy Pelosi after she called for her husband, Joe, to step down. You remember that? And that Kamala Harris feels dissed by Joe Biden for saying that if he had stayed in, he would have won the presidency. Congress is also butting heads about the best path forward. So how long can they afford to hold a grudge with each other before working on a plan to get power back?
I think we do have a leader. I think that leader is Minority Leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries.
Hakeem.
So there is no question that there is a leader. He's from Brooklyn. He speaks with his New York Brooklyn accent. I went to college with him. I know him extremely well. And he talks real talk. And I have a completely different take on this. I think the Democrats are actually falling in line as opposed to fighting with each other. We just saw the Democrats, many Democrats, cross the aisle and work with Republicans on the Laken-Riley Act. And I have to say that's something that most Democrats don't agree with. But they got in line because they know that they need to listen to the American people. They need to pass something that they may not want to pass. And they know that in 18 months, they will take control of the House. And it won't be Minority Speaker Jeffries. It will be Majority Speaker Jeffries.
All right, first off, Sonny, just a fashion tip. Easy with the shoulder pads. I say that as someone that loves the Golden Girls, but you're making B. Arthur look like Attila the Hun. What are you doing, lady? That's number one. Number two, yeah, Hakeem Jeffries. You guys go with Timu Obama. Okay, that's fun. Have fun with that. They're falling in line under Hakeem Jeffries. Like, you see what I'm saying? There's just nothing left. Oh, and Joy, I don't know if you remember this, but for all of the months that we were all saying, that there was this like soft coup and that, Obama and Pelosi and Schumer worked secretly to get rid of Biden, and that Biden went on your show and said while you were sitting next to him that he thought he could say, we all knew all of that stuff. So you're pretending, oh my God, there's this infighting with the Democrats. And what does she also say? Because they occasionally say the quiet part out loud. Oh, well, she basically says, well, they have to put it aside so we can get back into power. Because that's all they care about. It's power. The shoulder pads are freaking me out. Andrew Schulz, comedian, podcaster, he had that Lenny guy on. You guys know Lenny, Charlamagne the God, Lenny. And they also reiterated, to bring this thing around, they reiterated this point that Maher said up top of the show today about how there's nothing cool about the Democrats anymore.
It's going to be hard for them to get talent because they're so uncool right now. Like I don't know one man above like 5'9" that says they're a Democrat.
There's only one.
I honestly like males only males like under 5'9" that identify as a Democrat. They're like, I am a Democrat, like 100%. So, exactly.
I'm registered as an independent, and I'm 5'6", 5'7" on a good day.
Exactly. But it's a shorter guy thing. I don't know what it is. They just need protection.
Lenny's 5'6". I sat on a panel next to him during Piers. Maybe they had a little seat bump or something. I did not know that. But anyway, again, guys, the point is, well, let's go back to that Maher clip, because the point is suddenly you've got all of these people. You got 67-year-old Bill Maher, lifelong liberal, saying Trump is cool. You've got Lenny and Schulz saying the Democrats ain't cool there, and then you have the Democrats. Who do they have? They have Timu Obama. Like, there's just nothing left over there, and it is quite spectacular.
Here's how bad the Democrats up. Trump is cool now. He's not just the most powerful guy in the world and just made himself like the richest. He's actually kind of at 78. Yes. I mean, rappers like him. Yeah. The athletes are doing. I was making fun of him jerking off two guys at one time. And now he owns it, and they're doing it. I mean, the village people are gay for Trump now.
YMCA. He's always been a celebrity, Bill. He had The Apprentice. He had The Apprentice. He used to do movie cameos. He did wrestling.
He was a joke.
But you know what the problem with that is?
He was a celebrity, but he was made to be a celebrity by a whole bunch of Democrats. Think about that.
So how is this happening, guys? Yeah. Is it true that Donald Trump was a celebrity? Is it cool he did Celebrity Apprentice? His name was all over New York City, and he was in Home Alone 2 and all of that stuff. Yes, that is all true. But what is making Donald Trump cool right now? It's that competency is becoming cool. We have been so smacked in the face with incompetent, ridiculous buffoons that now Donald Trump coming in and being like, we have laws, we have a border, up is down, up is up, left down is down. Like, it's just obvious stuff. And I'm telling you, competency is cool now. I want to read this tweet by my friend Melissa Chen. Melissa's been on the show many, many times. She's a great thinker, and she lives across the pond in the UK right now, which I'm working on getting her back to America. But she illustrates an interesting point here, talking about the guys from the All In podcast. She says, I used to listen to the All In podcast as a ballast to my right-wing echo chamber. Everybody had their favorite bestie, and mine was David Sachs. I loved the pod because I could always count on the other guys to push back against Sachs' point of view, which generally aligned with mine. And so it was great. It was a great way to test my views in the crucible of unreconstructed liberalism. Fast forward to today. It's crazy how everyone has just converged on the right, coalescing around Trump's vision. The realignment feels so complete. Some members of the press have been screaming oligarchy, but I, for one, am happy to see this unity because this is the frontier of our rivalry with China. Tech is the battleground, and having a coordinated tech policy with the titans of U.S. innovation will make us stronger. So you guys know the All In Pod. I've played many of their clips. David Sachs has been on the show many times. I saw a couple of the guys in D.C. last week. The point is they were mostly lefties, except David, but he was kind of like a marginal Republican at best. He's now the czar for crypto and AI under Trump. And it's like, over time, what Melissa's saying there, Melissa, who considers herself still an old school liberal, what she's saying was she liked the fact that there was disagreement, but now they're all kind of agreeing that Trump is good, America is good, that we have this AI frontier on the way, and we're gonna have to have some mature, competent people to deal with it, and hot diggity damn, we actually do. Guys, I got one more for you to bring us home right now, because if you want to see how quickly things are changing, I've been talking about how Trump just out of the gate in 7 days is doing things fast. This video is wild. How quickly do things change? This is a video of 32-year-old JD Vance and his wife on with Megyn Kelly, and just look, this is only 7 years ago. This blows my mind. Check this out.
Vance was deeply in love with a classmate, Usha Chilakuri.
He just had a really great attitude to everything. He was clearly so excited to be there in a way that, a lot of people just, you get accustomed to places like Yale Law School when you've been to other universities like that before. And he felt very different.
But what Usha didn't know was just how different. As far as JD had come, his past was always looming.
I was as close to a nervous breakdown as I've ever had. The stress of law school, mom had just had a heroin overdose. I was in love with this girl, Usha, but I didn't quite know how to be in love with her in the way that I wanted to be. And I just thought to myself, you finally got to this place that's going to guarantee that your life is going to go well, and you're struggling with all of the things that you thought you'd gotten away from.
To know whether JD's going to run for office.
Who's everyone?
Everyone. It's everyone. Trust me. I speak to them.
Okay.
What do you think? Should he run for office?
I think someday, if the time is right, and if he really feels that that's the best way that he can contribute to his home, then I think that would be a great idea.
Why do you get uncomfortable when that idea comes up?
I think that, when people ask me if I want to run for office, part of me wonders, do they think I just give off a used car salesman vibe?
Don't you think it's more born of hope that you could be a real change agent?
Yeah, no, I think that's the optimistic take on it. I'm very flattered when people ask me, and you never say never, but it's just not something that I think about doing right now.
And so we left JD Vance, 32, home again, on the cusp of fatherhood. Whether his past will interfere with his present, well, that could be another book.
And look, 7 years later, the guy is the vice president of the United States. He obviously cut a little soy out of the diet, and there he is, laughing when he's asked if he wants to be in politics, right? Then becomes senator of Ohio out of nowhere. Trump plucks him. And now the guy, just look at the clip that we showed you at the top of the show. The guy's an absolute all-star fighting for the right things right now. So to tie all of this together, guys, it's happening really fast. Not only in 7 days of what Trump's done, but in 7 years, look what they did to JD Vance. They took a guy who was a little soft on the edges, let's say, and now they took him and they took like a piece of coal and they grind him down and they put all that pressure on, and now he's a diamond. And we're fixing things, and we're fixing them real fast. It's a very positive show for a Monday. All right, we're going to have some lunch around here. Post-game show in moments, RubinReport.locals.com. We leave you with the man we've said a few nice words about during this show. See you tomorrow.
And lastly, sir, we have an executive order demanding that grown men stop wearing skinny jeans.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades.